We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining me this week, as always, one of two undisputed scholars. He is the one and only Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are we doing tonight, sir?
I am doing as well as I can, enjoying myself in the Cesaro section, as you see, because some people will probably look at what one big topic we're going to talk about tonight is a sad thing. I couldn't be any more happy about it, and I will definitely go into more details on why later.
Oh, yes. And why stand on ceremony here? Let's dive right into it. In the little segment we like to kick things off with every single show, when there's happenings to be heard around the wrestling world, you know we got to talk about it in a little segment we like to call Backstage News.
Indeed, we shall go ahead again, as we always do, and peek behind that curtain and check in on more Backstage News.
I'll never get that right, man.
No, you will not.
We got to talk about these things, but we won't. We never will.
Nope.
But anyway, in case you haven't gotten the memo this week, in an interesting turn of events, Cesaro has quietly exited WWE after he never renewed his contract, it seems.
Nope.
Lots of back and forth about the reasons why. The latest we've heard so far is that he was interested in signing and re-signing initially, but he was not happy with what he was offered, allegedly. But as of right now, the result remains the same. Cesaro is no longer, or I guess we should call him Claudio Castagnoli now. Claudio is no longer employed by WWE and is free to go wherever he wishes.
He's pretty much Adam Coling this right now. He let his contract quietly expire, and now he could just step into wherever he wants to go. And again, most people would think I would be quite upset about this, but it's actually the complete opposite. Even Brian would be like, yeah, I bet Tarek's happy to see this news. And I clarify, I'm like, yeah, I couldn't be any more happy about. I'm trying to think what's a good mix of Cesaro and Claudio. Cesaro
Castagnoli.
I don't know. We'll figure something out. No. Now, we'll
just call him Claudio.
We'll just call him Claudio. Yeah. And when you really look at like his WWE career ever since he came in 2011, the only real highlights that we can really say is the thing we've been saying all the time is whatever opportunities they've ever thrown at him, which is mainly just throw him in any random tag team, from Tyson Kidd to Jack Swagger to Sheamus with the Bar, and most recently Shinsuke Nakamura. He could just be thrown at any tag team, and he can make basically anything out of into pure gold. It's just when it comes to his solo runs or lack thereof, it's just been nothing more than disappointment. And I just keep going back to that Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with Vince McMahon and just giving his thoughts on why he will pretty much never push Cesaro, because he just doesn't think he has the charisma or the connection with the crowd, even though he has been proven wrong time and time again that Cesaro can connect with the crowd. He can be put in main event spots. He could definitely put on great matches with those people who are in those main event spots. The one thing about WWE is they give him opportunities, but was never going to grow from it. it's kind of the similar to Dolph Ziggler right now. He could be good, putting great stuff, but it's never going to elevate him. He's never going to be a top guy. The closest thing that he's gotten to potentially being pushed as a top guy was when he joined up with Paul Heyman and became a Paul Heyman guy. And as people said, including Paul Heyman, him joining Paul Heyman, becoming a Paul Heyman guy at that particular time was not good for him because it was just right after Brock Lesnar beat the streak. And that's all Paul Heyman ever talked about when he was with Cesaro. And my response to that was, well, you can bring up Brock Lesnar, but you can also use that as saying that he made Brock Lesnar into, he brought Brock Lesnar in, and he helped him raise to that point where he is now a point in history as the man who broke the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. And I could do something similar to that with someone who I could see as the future of wrestling in Cesaro. That's something they could have used with this. They could have used Brock Lesnar's win as a point of saying, okay, here's what I've done with this guy. Now think what the possibilities could do with someone like this guy. But they didn't do that because, back to that Vince McMahon, he never saw him as a top player. He can never see him as a guy who could be elevated to a top spot to be a main eventer, even though the cards were right there and it was a good hand. And Vince just basically is just continuing showing his delusion on how not connected with the crowd he really is.
Yeah, I find myself going back to that thing every once in a while. And especially if we're talking about the whole Cesaro Paul Heyman thing. Paul Heyman has been quoted in the past as saying the reason that didn't work was because whenever he brought up Cesaro, who would you always think of first and foremost? You thought about Brock Lesnar, which, as much as I think that there's an element of truth to that, part of me still wonders how much of that is what he really believes and how much of that is getting the usual Paul Heyman spin. Personally, I think there is an element to that where it just wasn't the best fit for Cesaro personally. But then again, at this point, there's no denying that when it comes to the main event scene, Cesaro to me is proof enough that the WWE is only going to, at least as the corporate structure is now, they're only going to let you be, you're only going to be as good as WWE lets you be. Doesn't matter how many matches they give you, how many big opponents they give you. It doesn't matter how over you get, how much merch you move, if they don't want you to be a main event talent, if they don't see you as a big deal, they will not treat you like a big deal, and then you will not be a big deal.
And that's why I always knew, I'm like, the quicker Cesaro got out of there, the better. And I don't know if I said this last week, but now that he can just go right into AEW, I want to see him now as an Arn Anderson guy. Or if anything, they could wait on him and have him be a member of the inevitable Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley stable after they have their match at AEW Revolution. Because I just think it's inevitable that those two are going to end up having this match, earning the respect that Danielson needs from Moxley, and they will form something. And I can see Claudio just fit in that stable clear as day. I mean, he kind of was when Danielson was in WWE. He was trying so hard to push over Cesaro, which also kind of worked against Cesaro because Cesaro was never really a factor in his Universal Championship feud with Roman Reigns. It always focused on Danielson, or Daniel Bryan at the time. And once he left, Cesaro was nothing more than an afterthought. in that whole storyline. Yeah, he was in a Universal title match, but he wasn't. It was the equivalent of how like Big E as WWE champion was playing background to Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley when they were building that fiasco of whatever show that was, which with Brock Lesnar ending up winning the belt. God, what show? It doesn't matter. All I know is that Cesaro left his mark in WWE through the bar, through when he first showed up as Antonio Cesaro.
Antonio Cesaro.
Antonio Cesaro.
In jokes, gotta love him.
And just like his moments, him body slamming Big Show to be the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. I think that's really it when it comes to him in his singles career, unfortunately, because they didn't give him anything to do. Other than just literal years later and have his only one-on-one match at WrestleMania with Seth Rollins, which even that turned into nothing because Seth Rollins just beats him again months later. So yeah, I couldn't be any more happy that he is now out of WWE. I would think he would be an idiot if he stayed. But that's just my personal opinion. I think it because no matter what they would have offered him, I would have just said, just go. Because you think you might get something out of a contract, whatever they're offering you. But once that, whatever it is over, you're just going to be pushed right back down to the lower card. Eventually, he probably would have even gone for the 24/7 title. That's how bad he was being pushed, or lack thereof being pushed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
Because he was I can't even really remember the last time he actually won a match. I think it was against Ridge Holland like months ago. And again, it means nothing because Ridge Holland beat him in like 3 minutes a couple of weeks later. So that's just WWE's thing that like, oh, haven't renewed your contract. You might be on your way out. Well, we're going to do our damnedest to make sure you look like a loser going out. So WWE's mentality is just absolutely ridiculous. And I just can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. With the way WWE is rolling right now, there's got to be some sort of a reckoning. Something must give. This just is not sustainable. Absolutely. But all that being said, let's have a little fun for a minute. Now that Claudio Castagnoli is now a free man, where does he go? And who do you want to see him face? Let's give us some dream matches. What do you want to see?
Well, I pretty much just said where I want to see him go with the AEW.
Yeah, that's
Arn Anderson be his manager.
Okay,
but as dream matches
fantasy
go,
book here.
Let's see. As dream matches go, I want to see him versus Keith Lee.
I'll tell you what, that's very interesting because I just had the thought, like, what I gotta wonder, what if, because on Busted Open Radio, Tony Khan did make mention that he had a big announcement for coming for Wednesday. So is there a chance we see him go to AEW directly and get inserted? And there's going to be just enough time to have a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match or whatever it is. What if they signed Claudio Castagnoli and have him grab that brass ring? Just like be like, hey, I grabbed it, here it is, boom.
I don't know, because it's just also like there is also Keith Lee in that match. You know, just like, do we really want like all these people just to have so much momentum coming in and then just kind of have it be at a halt in this ladder match? So yes,
that is no. Yeah, you got a point there. Again, it was just honestly that idea was not mine. I saw someone else point that out. I'm like, that sounds
It is
pretty
an
damn
interesting
fun.
idea. It is an interesting idea, but it's also like it could backfire on them. And in my personal opinion, I'm kind of leaning towards Keith Lee winning. Uh, I'm surprised we haven't seen him since his match, but I guess
Oh
whatever.
yeah, we have. He's had backstage segments.
Oh yeah, he did have that backstage segment this past week, didn't he? With
Yes, he did, and he was on Busted
with Team
Open Radio
Taz.
this morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know about the Busted Open Radio, but yeah, I actually forgot about he had the backstage segment with the members of Team Taz, because Team Taz has the advantage of having two members in it in the ladder match. So yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. So
Yeah, plus not for nothing, he did sort of confirm that he was still dealing with some light lingering health issues put after his COVID scare. So, but he
that's
is
true.
feeling better more and more. So, if anyone had any complaints about either his size or physique or conditioning or whatever, he's aware of it. He's working on it, which I kind of figured, and just give him more time, and he'll be back to prime Keith Lee in all of his glory, bask in it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Keith Lee just yet. We're here to talk about. I keep wanting to call him Cesaro, but I know that's not his name anymore.
It's gonna take some time, because it was the same thing with Danielson. It was hard to not say Daniel Bryan. So
Yes, indeed. But then again, there's just still so many big matches waiting in the wings, waiting to be had. Even outside of something like a grab the brass ring battle royal, whatever you got.
it's like it's just thinking back. I'm like, okay, him versus Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, hell, Danielson, Moxley, Kingston, just because he keeps talking trash. I know I know they're friends, but
apparently that was actually going to be one thing I was going to point out. Apparently it was brought to my attention that they still have a leftover feud that never finished back in the Chikara days.
Yeah, they can bring that back. Again, it's just the possibilities are endless. Hell, I want to see him versus either member of Jurassic Express. I think him versus Jungle Boy would actually be a load of fun.
I'll tell you what. I'll do you one better. Go full Chikara, have him bring back the Bruder Shaft and just put a couple people in white suits and just be like, okay, well, the Bruder Shaft, and then just like string people around. They'll be like a trios force or something. There's so much untapped potential here, and it's just this is a very exciting time. It is
very much so. Yeah, very much so. I can't wait to see wherever he goes, as long as it's not WWE.
That being said, yes,
we've already seen what that's like, and someone who loves Cesaro both here and down there. No, don't go to WWE. Don't go back. Please, I'm begging. Don't go back.
Hey, if I already got my man Keith Lee, dreams can come true. Hopefully Claudio will arrive back into your life. But I do have a couple questions for you. In all of this time, have you actually seen Cesaro wrestle in person?
Oh yeah.
Really? When was that?
Just at try to just think back of the recent wrestling shows that I went to.
Oh yeah, wasn't he at WrestleMania? That one last WrestleMania you went to?
Shit, my phone's charging. I gotta trying to remember what match. Just all the past wrestling show, like WWE shows that I went to. Man, I think he had a match as him with Sheamus as members of the Bar. Let's see, wrestling.
I just remember the time when I went. I was working as a ring guy backstage at Ring of Honor, and I actually got to meet Claudio Castagnoli face to face. Really nice guy, very good looking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was at WrestleMania. He was
I
in
was
the
totally trying to like get some sort of rise out of you. Like, yep,
fatal.
real
He was in the
handsome
fatal
dude. That
4-way. Yeah, he was in the fatal 4-way tag match for the tag titles. Him and Sheamus versus. Oh my God, I actually forgot Rusev and Nakamura were a tag team. Aleister Black and Ricochet.
and that's how I get completely no sold.
Wait, what? What happened?
Never mind. I'm just like glowing, like, I met Cesaro that one time, face to face. Really nice guy. And you're just like,
well, good for you.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, good for you. Yes, son of a bitch.
But in all seriousness, if his track record in Ring of Honor was anything to go by, I've seen him face to face. I've seen him in title matches. I actually saw him. Does anyone remember Takeshi Morishima? Does anyone remember that name? I was there he wrestled him for the Ring of Honor title. And they had like a whole big
That's awesome.
build. And the thing was actually in the Hammerstein Ballroom, come to think of it.
Oh wow.
That was a great show.
Oh, I bet.
And if we get anything close to that in the AEW era, or just in the modern wrestling landscape, wherever he goes, we are bound to see some great new crop of matches, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be good.
Oh, it's going to be.
The question is, in all seriousness, if there is another big announcement from Tony Khan coming this Wednesday, is it realistically going to be Claudio Castagnoli, or is it going to be, do you think it's going to be something else?
Probably both. I mean, I could see them doing multiple announcements. I mean, it's very hard to tell with Tony Khan, because he's just basically like, oh, tune in next week. I got a big announcement for you then. I got a big announcement. Oh, I got another announcement. Oh, you get an announcement. You get an announcement. Everybody gets an announcement.
Here's an announcement. I had oatmeal for breakfast today. AEW oatmeal coming soon. Like, again, this is from an AEW fan, but like, unless you got something, Tony, you might want to cool it here.
Yeah, calm yourself. Apparently, they've been just telling us, stop promising announcements. Stop with the announcements, man. You're driving us crazy.
Hey,
because all you just do is keep promising announcements, you crazy bastard.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Tony Khan is a crazy man, but he's a crazy man in the best possible way. I take it.
Oh, yeah.
If you do pick up Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro, Moreau, just bring the good stuff. That's what we're here for. It's going to be great.
It's all going to be good.
All right. I'm out of Cesaro Claudio talk. So speaking of more AEW, that wasn't the only big thing that happened this week in wrestling, because we probably got the best MJF promo we will ever get, or at least the best one in years. This was an all-time great. I actually was not able to see this live. I had to go back and watch the replay. How did this one hit you, the MJF promo?
I also didn't watch this live because I was out working. But I watched it the next morning. And I will say, when his promo ended, it actually legit brought a tear to my eye, because I just felt the sincerity in this promo. Just what he said about just him basically being a loser and like having no friends and joining the football team hoping he would make friends, but instead they threw rolls of quarters at him and just said, "Pick it up, Jew boy." And that same day, that's when he met Punk, and it was the greatest day. It was the greatest day in his life, because that's when he wanted to be a professional wrestler. And Punk leaving wrestling, it was like a stab in the back for him. And now after going to college and joining football, he wanted to be a wrestler, not for Punk, but despite him. I'm like, wow, this is great stuff. And I know most people are pretty much in agreement with what I'm going to say, because I felt this is how I felt when I watched it. This is his syndrome origin
I
story.
was gonna say this is a total supervillain origin story in the making. It
Like
was so
like I
good.
said, it was definitely a syndrome, is like, because it was because of his hero who made him into the villain he is today. And I really hope all this is not just a ruse. I actually am super invested and thinking, okay, he's not doing this as a bad guy. This is the first time we're seeing MJF as a person and not as a bad guy, and not as someone you want to just say you want to see Punk come in and just say, yeah, Punk beat the shit out of him with that dog chain, or with that chain in the dog collar match, and it just leaves the question now. Now with CM Punk's talking about the week before what he's going to do and leaving him in like a bucket, leaving buckets of blood, leaving him in blood. What's he going to do now? Now seeing the legit person behind the character. How do you what's he going to do during this match? Because it is now so much more deeper than what we've gotten. And honestly, so far, this has been my year. This has been my feud of the year so far.
Oh yeah,
And
easy.
this has to be the ending of it, especially with how personal it's gotten, and how, like I said, it brought a tear to my eye just because I legit felt sorry for this guy who is a villain, but his villain character is just a mask of this hurt kid who's seeing his hero wanting to basically destroy him. And it's honestly a beautifully told story. It's very tragic. And I can't wait to see Punk's response in the go home show for next week. Because again, when Punk came out after this promo and was just off mic, you just hear him, is that true? And MJF just tears in his coming down his face, at which he had tears coming down since he walked out, and he just responded, "It's true," and walked out. I'm just thinking, God damn, that shit is powerful. Like, I am feeling I'm feeling like deep emotion, and even when you get Tony Schiavone just going, I feel for this kid, which is such a big deal. I can't be any more invested in this story than I am now. And I cannot wait for the go home angle, and I can't wait for Revolution.
I'll tell you what, I feel like I'm absolutely in the minority here when I say the following. This was wonderful, but everyone's going on and on about, oh, I can't boo. I can't boo
Oh,
MJF now. I can't do that. Like, no, I absolutely can, because this, in short, the story is not over yet. Like, again, there's been so much talk about, especially people who are in the Jewish community who really resonated with a lot of MJF's story, and that's wonderful. But there is one big difference between MJF's story and the story of everyone else who was ever bullied, myself included. A lot of people out there can really resonate with being bullied, and just that story. There's documentation. There's a lot of truth to it, but an important thing to realize here that really just stuck with me is that he, like Syndrome from The Incredibles, like you said, he used it as an excuse to become a villain. There's a lot of way we all deal with loss. A lot of us dealt with loss and bullying and broken dreams and all of that. But that doesn't mean you have to put it on everybody else and use it as an excuse for, let's face it, shitty behavior. Even in your grief, if in your grief you take that and you inflict pain on others and strut around like, oh, I'm the best in the world, guess what? I'm sorry that you're hurting, but you're still acting like a dick.
Oh,
And that's
I'm not
MJF in
gonna
a
say.
nutshell. And I
Oh,
think,
I'm not gonna be one of those people that's like, I'm not gonna boo him. I'm still gonna boo him because yeah, he's still the villain of this story. He's just now he's not just a cookie cutter villain. He is a three-dimensional character that that it's adding more to a story that I was already invested in. Now it's just even more because you know me, I'm a villains guy. I like villains where you actually like you see his story and just think, okay, now we know where the villain has come from. But yeah, he's still a villain. You still hate him. He's still an asshole. And I'm just thinking, oh, I can't. Yeah, if there are people who's just, oh, I can't boo him now because I just feel so sorry for him. Then you're just gullible because yeah, you're supposed to feel you feel sorry for him, but yeah, like you said, it's not an excuse for him to it still turned him into a villain. He's still a piece of shit. But
which
yeah,
is why I feel like this next upcoming Dynamite, when we have to get some sort of response from Punk. Whatever Punk does next week before the pay-per-view, it's going to be absolutely critical to bring this around and get everyone contextually seated for the story that they're going to tell next Sunday. Because if they don't, I've got a really nasty feeling that they might not stick the landing with this and they might not get the reaction that they're actually going for. But if they do, if they bring the story full circle, if they prime the crowd with what's really going on, like if Punk says something like, I'm sorry if you feel like I let you down, but WWE was killing me. If I didn't leave, I would not be here talking to you right now. I would be dead. Like, do something to bring it full circle and prime everyone who's just, instead of like, yeah, we're feeling bad for MJF, then he just turns into this wrathful little kid or something, and then they're just gonna make each other bleed. If they nail the last promos and they nail the match, I'm gonna call it. This is going to be easily match of the year, or feud of the year at least. But this is still by far next Sunday. This automatically turned into the match I'm hyped up for the most. Easy.
And let me ask you, have you seen Kung Fu Panda 2 specifically?
The second one, I have not. No.
Okay. I won't go into any full spoilers because I will say watch it because it's amazing. But I hope this is now for people who have seen it, people in the audience who have seen it and know pretty much the results of what happens to the villain in that story. I want something similar to the fact it's more of just basically it's a villain who you sympathize with, but it's still the villain. You still hate him, but it's just now we now know MJF's story, and it's just for me personally, I kind of want the story to end where it's now just not letting the hatred of what the past did consume you, because in the end it will inevitably destroy you. And I want something like that to be the ending of this one. And if it's like that, then it will just be a very poetic story for both CM Punk and MJF, and it will be my feud of the year. It will be impossible. It will be a very big deal to try to have something top that one. Something has to be big to top that. If like you said, if they stick the landing right.
And I'm pretty confident that they very well could. Yeah. But I don't think this is as much as it's the blow off for this portion of the feud, I've got a feeling this is probably going to be a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn kind of deal where their paths will cross and they're just like star-crossed rivals for the rest of time.
That's
But
fair.
yeah, I
But
can.
for this
This
particular
was too good.
story,
Yeah.
for this particular story of whatever the future holds for these two guys, this is a story that I just can't wait to see the ending for.
Oh, and I'm very confident that they're going to deliver an
Oh,
already
absolutely.
stacked card for Revolution. I mean, damn.
Damn it.
But
Yeah, exactly.
but we're going to cover that in its entirety next week. But before we say goodbye, there was another announcement on the WWE side of things that really caught me off guard. It really surprised me for once in a very long time. It looks like they're going to be doing something I've been hoping they would do for a very long time, and that is a unification match. At WrestleMania, they confirmed it. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns is going to be a world championship unification match. Personally, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I've thought that they need to unify these titles and have one world championship for WWE to make it mean more. So it's not just like, oh, hey, passing around a bunch of multicolored props. This actually means something now. So I'm wondering, is this going to be one of those things that really acts as an omen of change within WWE, structurally speaking? Will anything change at all for the better? Or, in your view, is this just another bit of smoke and mirrors, Cody Rhodes intended here? But is it just more of the same? What do you think?
My initial response of the fact that they're now making this a title unification match is okay. They've been talking about this, hinting at it for literal months now, that like it's been up in the air whether or not they're going to do it or not. The fact that they're actually are doing it, I'm just thinking, okay. The only thing that they have to do now is break off the brand split. It's the only way for this thing to really work. And with so many of these cuts of the roster, it's now small enough that you can actually have one roster that can appear on both shows. There's no more SmackDown guys, there's no more Raw guys. The rosters are now small enough that you can have these wrestlers show up on both shows. You can continue these stories similar to what they did pre-brand initial brand split when Ric Flair pre-invasion angle in WWE or WWF at the time. So the roster is now small enough that they can have these people show up, but still like some storylines that you can continue on multi shows, but you can have the roster is still big enough that you can have different feuds on different shows. Like you can kind of what they do with Rampage, hint at it on one show and just have it on the other. Yeah, I don't see why not. At this point, looks like with AEW collecting a crap load of people, they could do a brand split now with how many people they've hired.
Oh, don't tempt Tony Khan with that. No, please.
Uh,
I like the whole ensemble cast thing we've got going on here on AEW. It's the way it used to be. Don't ruin it, please.
but yeah, at this point, drop the brand split, merge the tag titles and women's titles now, since you're merging the world title. Still keep the two mid-card belts. I mean, hell, WWE had the Intercontinental and European title. Pretty much have that be the updated stuff now, or be the today stuff, the Intercontinental title and the United States title, even though there's no point. I mean, shit, Vince McMahon has made it clear that no one gives a shit about the Intercontinental title. I mean, fuck, WrestleMania it's going to be Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title. That's how much he doesn't care about it right now, which breaks my heart, because you know me, I'm someone who's a huge fan of the Intercontinental Championship. I love that title, and the fact that it is just so irrelevant. Like, you would think, when they gave it to Shinsuke Nakamura, the guy who made the New Japan Intercontinental Championship so important, he could try and revitalize it. And when he's not injured, nope.
Indeed, like I said, they'll only let you be as successful as they want you to be. There's no getting over. If they want good little soldiers who will play their part, no more, no less. It sucks, but
and
what can you do?
The only characters that do matter in Vince McMahon's eyes is Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And then
that's
Charlotte
how we got here.
And Charlotte and Ronda Rousey.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty much all that can be said right now.
I can't be any more not interested in WrestleMania. Like, you just think it can't get any worse, and they just keep making it worse. And
lo and behold, it got worse.
And this WrestleMania is not even about the wrestling anymore. It's just about the celebrities. And yeah, WrestleMania was made with celebrities, but the wrestling was the main focus. This year, it's the celebrities that are the main focus, and the wrestling is not even a thought. The wrestlers are not even a thought.
Yeah, I'm really hoping this changes sometime very, very soon. But in the meantime, those are our thoughts. Now we want to hear from you, our fellow fans. So drop us a line all across the internet. Where do you want to see Cesaro pop up? Who do you want to see him wrestle? What do you think of MJF's promo? Where is it going next? And where on earth can you get these fine, fine shirts for our man DM Stevens, the greatest wrestling referee on the East Coast? Well, you can get one at whatamaneuver.net for this and many other fine indie wrestling t-shirts. We are not sponsored, but we could be. So drop us a line all across the internet, Facebook posts, YouTube comments, Instagram whatevers, and of course our favorite, the Twitter machines, to join in the conversation, starting with at ScholarsOW for all our latest episode uploads every single week. And you can join in the conversation with us on a personal level, on our personal accounts. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at the Avataric.
And you can reach me at I'm Robbie Rage. Join in the conversation. It's always a good time. And we've got a lot to look forward to. Next week, we're going to be covering. Yeah.
It's just especially, yeah. Now we got a lot to look forward to next week. Absolutely.
Yeah. We got AEW Revolution. It's going to be a big one. And we love it that way because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling. And you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you all for Revolution.